thing sat there for hours.
Ow.
Hey guys, back in the shop today. We're going to work on the Model A frame, get the motor stuck back in it, and do a little sheet metal work.
So on the back rail of the frame, I don't like how a lot of guys build tubular frames for these things. They just have a bigger rectangle tube go up over the axle, and then they just kind of end it. They might jog around a buggy spring or something like that. We're actually going to be putting this one on air now. So the back rail, I'm actually going to kind of mimic the front shape of a Model A frame. It's going to kind of come back to a nice round taper, get a little smaller as it goes. But what I got to do is cut my side profiles here. I got to take a piece of strap and basically bend it around the whole perimeter. A lot of welding, a lot of grinding. Problem is, brand new shop, you always don't have what you need around here. One of those being a torch, a vise, a BFH, something. So I seen this little trick on TV where a guy actually took steel and could bend it by just smacking it on the floor a lot. I'm not gonna do that. So we're gonna try to find some other way of getting this done and get this back half rail made. So when you ain't got all the fancy tools, you can always resort back to a hammer. Find you 2 points with a gap in it you can beat something down into. You'd be surprised at what you can do with it. That's gonna be a pain in the ass of getting that tiny curve in there. But we'll keep trying until we got it. So as part of working in the brand new shop, we're literally like bringing in tools as we work.
As we need them.
It turns out a fiberboard tabletop doesn't make that great of a welding table. So drug this in from the other shop. Definitely an upgrade from that. So we'll get to work on this now.
All right, what do we got going on here?
So the fact that this is a new shop, we're still having them new shop woes. Tooling's an issue. I brought my tubing bender from my shop, but we don't have the little shoe that goes around the tube and holds it to the die and turns it around. So instead of wasting the whole day not doing nothing, we're gonna make a strap. We're gonna attempt to make a strap. We're probably gonna make a strap.
Well, to refinish this, we've already made one strap, and Kyle did not listen to me on his measurements, Mr. Mathematics, and it did what I said and failed. because
This
it
is not a failure.
was not long enough.
This is a proof of concept. That proves that the idea will work. There we go for it. We're good, Steve. We are good.
Thanks, Steve.
You gonna whack it?
No, you go ahead.
I like it.
That way, if it fucks up, it's on your fault. I'll flip the table.
I feel like I've done this before on this project.
Yeah.
We're friends, but not hitting. Yeah, that's what we get for the extra length there, Mitch.
Now we gotta move to the table.
Patented anvil.
With the hammer.
Should fit.
Tap it in.
Go ahead with that hammer.
Tap it in.
Tap it in, he says. Just
start hitting
tap
it.
it in. Little tap it in. Hurt?
Oh yeah. No, we need to
Tack
tack
it.
that.
Yep. Let's tack in.
Tack coming up, tackaroo.
Here, can we fucking slide it over off the old tacks? Okay. No, tack.
You're right on the tack.
Sure, it's fucking. There is no tag. It completely broke off. Okay. Oh my fucking gloves. Yep. Edit that. Edit the liquid out. Whoa, whoa.
We're pretty straight this time too. I dig that.
Perfect.
I'm gonna call that one a victory.
Bill? Do I look fat on camera? Do I look fat on camera?
Oh yeah.
Success.
Not quite.
Quiet, don't tell me that. I done said it. No.
How'd you do?
I walked away. It fit last time I touched it.
No, just turn it around.
Yeah, I got no way of knowing how much I've been in this, so we got to agree well.
Get that degree Puchikai that Andrew brought. Puchikai.
There you go. Something like that. That is going to come in handy. Boy, they thought Roadkill was Haggard. We're going to be the new Haggard YouTube channel. I don't know what to measure. I'm stand back from this in case that first test been done. You think it'll come out now?
With the hammer.
Yep. Good hammer. Piece of tubing.
Wire's gonna get me.
Piece of tubing. Round. close, but she fits.
Kyle, where are we at now?
So it is a new day in the shop, new day of the year, January 1st. So we figured we'd get up this morning and get something done, unlike everyone else having hangovers. We're gonna do today is try to get this front end hung. We had to come in here and move all of our cross members, everything up a little bit. We didn't like how the motor was situated in there. It was too far back in the firewall. So we got all that reset. Come up here from my 4-link cross member, made me a datum line, which datum line is just a theoretical line to start from, zero, base, whatever you want to call it. But you need to make sure that it's square to the rear end. That way the thing tracks correctly. Your front and rear end are like this, not your front end's steering one way or your back end's no. You'll see certain vehicles go down the road dog-legging because the wheelbase isn't square. So set a datum line up. Me and Andrew mocked the front end, got the length how we wanted it, got the spring off of the tube up there, a little bit of gap, looks good. So come up with our measurement. This is where we're gonna drill a hole. This morning I machined some crush sleeves to go inside the frame. We gotta drill a 1-inch hole 4 times through here, pass this through the chassis, weld it in, and that's our mounting point for the hairpin. It sets the wheelbase, the squareness of the front end, everything.
Tack her up, make sure everything fits right.
We're gonna drill a hole for this crush sleeve. Now I made these because kind of necessary. What some guys will do is they'll just go ahead and drill the holes in this thing and call it good, put a bolt through it and tighten it up. I don't like doing that because there's nothing inside this tube. It's hollow, and if you were to put enough force on that, you could just start crushing the side of this frame in, and that of course will lead to front end getting sloppy, stuff like that. Plus, it's just nice having 2.5 inches of material for that bolt to be riding on versus, 3/16 twice. It'll get wore out, make the hole bigger, again, leads to slop in the front end. So anytime you need to drill a hole through a hollow tube and have some kind of a crush application on it, you need to put your crush sleeve in it, that way nothing gets wore out. So one thing to note when you're building a project, you notice bolts have this smooth section of the bolt. It's called the shoulder, some call it the grip, many names for it, but what it is basically the strong part of the bolt. You want your components to ride on that. So in a case like this, we have a 2.5 inch slug inside of here, and in the heim, and then we've got all this bolt sticking out here. And that's not a mistake, that's by design, because if you'll see, that grip sticking out right there is exactly where we want that heim to ride. And the problem is, a lot of guys will buy a bolt that sets the component out on the threads like that, and what'll happen 9 times out of 10 is it'll bust that bolt right on the thread. It's a weak spot, it's a stress riser. So anytime that you can get a component to ride on one of these grips or shoulders of bolt, the better off you'll be. Now what we'll do is we'll come back in here. I'm going to make a tab that comes over here and turns this into a double shear load, and then we'll trim off the excess of what we don't need. So when I say double shear load, what I mean is literally that. We're doubling the shear load it takes to break this bolt. Right now, if we left this alone, this would be a single shear load. And theoretically what can happen is if we ever hit anything in the front end of this thing, first thing that hits the tires, transfers everything through the axles, the hairpins, all back to these bolts. And what it'll do is it'll try to shear that bolt right there on one point. So what I'm gonna do is weld a tab that comes out, over, and has another hole in this thing and turns it to a double shear load. It literally just takes twice the amount of force to break the bolt. It's a pretty easy thing to factor into a build. A lot of people don't do it just because either they don't know about it or don't have time, don't wanna do it, whatever. But it's definitely a good, safe thing to do on a project, especially on an application like this where all the force of this front end is on 2 bolts. So anytime you can do that, do that.
To the end of the day here. We got threw this stuff together for kind of a
rough mock-up. We want to make sure everything was lining up, everything was fitting. Got the motor mounted, got all that stuff situated, the front end lined out about where it needs to be. Trimmed a little bit up on the body just to get it fitting a little bit better. We're going to have to move the firewall back just a smidge. But on the next go around, we're going to get the rear end hung, 4-link in place. Try to get it a little bit more where it's done rolling chassis. Things in the future, we're going to mock up the triple deuce setup that we're going to put on here, make sure we have clearance on that, get the radiator in, grill shell kind of fitted. But all in all, I mean, it's coming together really nice. Everything's fitting up right about where we thought it would. Front end kind of lined itself out, and